I'm Coach BJ. I want to take you guys through the top 5 mistakes that I see men making in the gym. Now, I collected these 5 mistakes from not only what I see when I go to commercial gyms and I see people working out, but also lots of friends of mine who are always asking me for training programs or asking me training advice. And when I ask them a few questions about what they're currently doing, I see people continuously making these mistakes over and over and again, and they're really limiting your gains. So these are the top 5 mistakes that I see men making in the gym that are limiting your gains, and I want to help you guys to not make these mistakes so you can start to really see some results from the training that you're doing every day. Number 1, this is by far the biggest mistake that most people are making. They do not have a plan or a structure. Most guys go to the gym and just work out. They just go lift, they just go do stuff. Maybe they saw a cool exercise on Instagram, maybe their buddy who was kind of jacked told them to do a couple things. So they just go to the gym and they're like, oh, I'm doing chest today. And then they just do some things that they think are chest. The problem with that, there's 2 major problems. Number 1, if I don't have a structure for the day, I'm a lot less likely to have an effective workout. So if I don't know what I'm actually supposed to be doing when I go in there that day, then the chances that I'm going to get the best training out of that day, the best stimulus for adaptation, it's very minimal. I end up kind of walking around and doing some stuff I like to do, and then I go do that machine because there's a cute girl next to it, and I just start walking around aimlessly and I do some stuff. And you keep doing stuff, when you're a beginner, you might see a little bit of adaptation from that, you'll see some benefit, but very quickly that's going to start to taper off. So you have to have a structure and a plan in place for what you're doing that day. And then more importantly than that, we need to have a periodized plan in place so that we know that every workout we do is building on top of the next one. So 1 week is building on top of the next week, and 1 month is building on top of the next month, so that I continue to see progress. Because even if I go in and I do something, if I just keep doing that same thing, or if I'm just doing randomized things, I don't know if I'm actually building on top of itself, and I don't know that I'm continuing to get better, bigger, stronger, faster, leaner, whatever it is that I'm looking for. I don't know if it's going to get me there. So the best way that we put together programs like this, when I'm working with somebody, is I find out what their end goal is, and then I back engineer that whole program to get them there. So I know every step they have to take to get to that end goal. So if we don't have a structure, people end up doing 2 major things. They either end up with way too much variation, like I just talked about, just doing random stuff, or they do the same thing all the time. If you keep doing the same thing all the time, your body gets accustomed to that, and therefore you're not going to get any adaptation. So you just keep going in and you're spinning your wheels, and you wonder why you're not getting leaner or bigger or any of that kind of stuff. So we've got to have a plan. There's plenty out there that you can follow. My best advice for you: don't follow some Instagram influencer D-bag who's selling you his training program. There are plenty of really good people out there who are real coaches who are selling training programs. I don't sell training programs, so I'm not trying to sell you on anything, but I would highly recommend guys like Joe DeFranco, Jeff Cavalier, or Dr. John Rusin. I know they all have training programs out that are phenomenal. So check those things out. When you do have a plan, another big mistake people make is plan jumping. They do a plan for like 2 weeks, and then they jump to another one for 2 weeks, and they don't give it enough time and fully buy in to actually see some results. So you've got to get a plan, you've got to follow it, and you've got to keep doing it consistently so you can start to see some benefit. Another big problem: too much volume. Guys want to go in and they just crush themselves in the gym. One of my good friends who's a strength coach, nutrition specialist named Dan Gardner, he always likes to say, and this is a problem I had too, I would go in and just crush myself too much in the gym. And he always said that, remember, the workout is to stimulate, not annihilate. So we don't want to just destroy our bodies every single time we go to the gym. There are times when we can go in and we can really crush it and get after it in a workout, but most of my workouts should be designed to really stimulate growth or stimulate adaptation, not just destroy my body. So most guys are going to the gym and they're just doing way too much volume, where they're chasing soreness instead of gains and adaptation. So because they're not getting that same soreness, they don't think they got a good workout. So the next time they go, they just crush things until they're super sore and they can't lift their arms for 4 days, and they think that that means they got a good workout. That's not true. That's not what you should be doing. And if you're working with a trainer who's just constantly crushing you to make you sore, it's time to get a new trainer. Another mistake people make: bodybuilding splits. This is something I did for a really long time because this is what the fitness industry was. That's all we ever saw. With the people who lifted and got big were bodybuilders. So we followed the crap that they had in Muscle and Fitness magazine, and we did chest on Monday and back on Tuesday and shoulders on Wednesday and legs on Thursday and all the, these regular splits. Now, if you're a competitive bodybuilder and your goal is just hypertrophy and you're an advanced trainee and you really need to put enough stress into certain muscle groups to create an adaptation, then yeah, that's the best way to do it. The problem is 99% of people who are watching this video or who are out there training in the gym, even more than 99%, are not competitive bodybuilders, never will be competitive bodybuilders, are not taking the stuff that competitive bodybuilders are taking in order to recover from those intense workouts, so they shouldn't be following these bodybuilding split type routines. There's a lot more effective ways to train. If you're only going to the gym 3 days a week, you should not be following these body part split routines. There's a lot more effective ways to be training than just going in and following chest on Monday because that's what everybody thinks that you're supposed to be doing. Again, I've made this mistake myself for a really long time. When I started seeing the best gains in my physique, my athletic performance, every single thing that I was training for is when I got rid of that garbage mentality and I started being exposed to all the other training modalities out there. So if you don't know how to do that, again, go back and find a good plan. There's a lot of them that are out there for really cheap. Or find a really good coach to help you. Another big mistake, going way too heavy and having no technique. So guys are chasing numbers all the time. We want to lift the biggest weight. We don't really care what we look like in terms of technique. Again, I've made all these mistakes myself. I'm paying the price for it with 2 fractures in my lumbar spine and 3 tears in my labrum from being an idiot when I was younger and just chasing weights all the time. There's a time and a place for lifting really heavy weight. And when you have proper mechanics, you should absolutely tax your body with really heavy weight. It's a great way to challenge your posture, to challenge all of those different positions, and to build up to be resilient from injury. But if we just go there with shitty mechanics and we just start pushing weight and just trying to pick up heavy things like this deadlifts I see everybody doing with the worst form I've ever seen in my life, and all they care about is did you pick the weight up or not? That's a great way to end up in the hospital with some slip discs and all kinds of stuff, and just so that you can have the fact that you deadlifted 400 pounds on your Instagram, so you got a couple extra likes, it's really not worth it. So we can't just be chasing heavy weight all the time, and even if we're lifting heavy, you can't do that all the time. We're missing out on a lot of benefit if all we're doing is always lifting really heavy. There's time for lifting heavy weight, there's time for lifting moderate weight, there's time for lifting light weight, there's time for doing cardiovascular training, there's time for doing high intensity training, there's all of this different stuff. There's plenty of times, and if you're gonna have a well-balanced program, you should be incorporating a lot of these different things in, unless your goal is powerlifting, in which case lifting heavy weight is your sport. But you've got to have some good technique if you want to keep your body resilient and you want to maximize your performance. And then another big one here, they don't pay any attention to rest periods. So a lot of guys go to the gym and they either circuit train, where they just do everything back to back really fast and they don't pay any attention to how long they're resting in between, or they don't rest in between. And when you do that, especially if you're trying to strength train, you lose the benefit of the strength training because everything just becomes a cardio circuit training. So there's a time for that, but you should know that you're not taking any rest, and that's a part of your type of training for that day. There should be other times when you're taking optimal rest so you can lift some heavier weight, you can be more explosive, or you can keep better technique. One of the other big problems, and really the one I see more often, is guys don't pay any attention to rest periods, and they go bench press, and then they just dick around for 8 minutes, and they're texting on their phone, and they're Instagramming, and they're taking pictures of themselves, and they're talking to their buddies, and they're looking at their biceps in the mirror, and they're chasing the hot chick over to the water fountain. And 10 minutes goes, it takes them 30 minutes to finish 5 sets of bench press. They're not being very efficient in the gym. You're not taking advantage of a lot of benefits of maximizing the optimal rest periods in between each kind of exercise, depending on what the goal adaptation is. There's plenty of science behind the types of rest periods that we're applying to the type of training to create a specific adaptation. So if I have a specific goal, for example, the training programs I'm doing right now, I have anywhere between a 60-second, a 90-second, or sometimes a 2-minute rest. Sometimes I have exercises paired back to back with no rest and then followed by 2 minutes. Sometimes I have a 90-second or a 60-second. And I carry a stopwatch with me so that I know I'm staying on top of those rest intervals. It keeps me efficient in my workout, so I'm not in the gym dicking around for 2 hours. And it's going to help me get the best adaptation from the training program that I'm doing, not just sitting there on my Instagram and losing my focus in what I'm doing. And that's the last one that I want to finish this video with. Is a big problem men, women, everybody's doing in the gym, is we've lost the intent. We're not focused on the workout. We're not focused on the mind-muscle connection. We're not focused on how the movement should feel. We're just focused on doing stuff. And we're text messaging while we're walking on the Stairmaster, or we're just mindlessly going through things, and we're not paying any attention to anything. You won't get the most benefit from your training if you're not focused intently on what you're doing. So you need to be very, very hyper focused. The gym is a great time to keep your mind off of all the other crap in your life and focus on your training. Focus on how your muscles feel, how your body feels, how those sets and reps work, how many you're supposed to do, counting your reps, your tempos, your breaths, all of these different things keeps your mind focused on your training session. Well, the best piece of advice I can give you is put your phone on airplane mode, put your headphones on if you want to listen to music or whatever, but stop text messaging and Instagramming in between sets and just focus on your workout. I guarantee you, you're going to get a lot more out of it. So those are the top 5 mistakes I see guys making in the gym. I hope that some of this resonates with you and that you're able to change some of these mistakes so that you can get a lot more out of your training sessions.